Morning. This is April the 18th, and I wanted to do a little update on all of our seedlings and our plants that are getting ready to go outside. A little garden update. We'll start right here with our ginger. These are ginger plants that we harvested last year and brought in and overwintered, and they're starting to come up. A little sprout right there. Here's some of our sweet potato slips rooting in water that go into cups, in 16-ounce solo cups, and then we'll get them into bigger cups, and you can see how nice and beautiful these things are doing. These will be the ones we plant, the biggest ones here in these 32-ounce cups. We've already got the soil ready for these guys to plant on Mother's Day. And here's some smaller ones, which they're still pretty big there. You can see these will probably be sold. The extra ones here will be sold that we don't use. We sell a few every early in the spring around Mother's Day. Here's our halcinators. You can see how nice these guys are doing. So they're getting a little light, so we'll have to get some water on them and some fertilizer. We'll do a fertilizing video on these. Here's our giant Marconis. Lost my track of thought there, sorry. And there's a few Amish cherry tomatoes. Here's another batch of the halcinators. There's some more ginger in the cups. I got to get these things planted. They're not liking these cups. They're root bound, and you can see the tips of these, but we still have to wait a few more weeks before we can get these in the ground. And like I say, they're still, I can do this without cutting the video off. Nice looking plants. And here's some cabbages. And back there's some cabbages. We're going to get these planted here in another week or so, once they get acclimated to the sun. Here's some more halcinators. We'll probably sell a few of those this year too. Here's our cucumber plants. You can see these guys are, let's get a good one there, really doing good. We start some for my wife's friend at work, and then we'll have some for us. And now we'll head outside and show you what we got going on out there. Hang on just a second. We just uploaded a video on our channel few days ago of our getting our soil ready for our sweet potatoes. And you can see how nice and mounded up this stuff is right here now. And I went ahead and put the trellis up, and it's tied to the soffit area up there and staked down in the ground. Here's just some lumber I'm getting ready to use up, so I'll get that out of the way. And here's the container sarpomiras that we planted, and you can see they're starting to come up, and they're doing great. These are 9-gallon containers. And here's my carrot pipe. It's a 4-inch, 4-foot tall drain pipe. I bought it at Lowe's Hardware, and I'm going to, I filled it full of potting mix. So we've got some long carrots we're going to plant, and I'll plant one in there and see how long we get it. And here we have our buckets of sarpomira. These are just 5-gallon buckets that we painted black. I grow potatoes in these buckets every year. These are just old kitty litter buckets that we use to pour the kitty litter in the litter box, and then I'll wash out the bucket and get that scented, fragrant smell out of it. Probably store them in the building for a few months, and then the smell dissipates, and then we drill holes in the bottom and plant them in the ground and paint them black. And you can see we've grown these potatoes in these buckets, and these are safe for growing. They're not food grade, but they're stamped on the bottom, and I can't remember right now what it is. I think it's a 5, and it just had litter in there. Don't use paint buckets with chemicals and things like that if you're going to grow in containers. Be safe and smart. Here's some thyme that I took some cuttings off of our thyme plant, and I just put it in some water and let it root, and then I just planted them in these little cups, and they're doing good. There's some beet seedlings. We planted some beet seedlings last week, and these are the extras, so I got to find a spot for those. Here's our container carrot. If you follow the channel, you'll know this is the container cooler that we planted some carrots in earlier in the season. These are a Indian variety. It's a black carrot, and they're doing good. We had took a little time to get them germinate in the middle of the winter here, or early in the season. But once they started getting sprouted up, they're coming on pretty good. Here's our lettuces. These are a leaf lettuce, and they're doing great. And there's our iceberg head lettuce. It's doing great. I have to put a little cage over the top of this thing to keep the bunny rabbits out of it. There's our carrot box, but we haven't planted those yet. We're going to wait till Mother's Day and get those planted. Here's our blueberries. They're coming out really nice, loaded with blooms. I had to put a little cage around the bottom of these guys because the rabbits were chewing them up too. So yeah, they're doing really good. Loaded in there already. You can see the blooms on these guys. Let's say they're blooming, and more blooms are coming out. And then we'll spin back around. Actually, let's just do this right here. We've got some spinach seedlings coming up here in these little coolers. These are Omaha Steaks coolers, and they work great for planting small things in, and our spinach is doing great. It's coming up. Show you the garlic here. The garlic's doing great, but we had some couple of days of 88 degrees, and man, they were just wilting down. So I just took some PVC pipe and built a frame, and I had this is a slider glass door screen. And this is just an old window screen, and we put that on there as a UV protector, and it's doing great. It don't block all of the sun. We're going to order some shade cloth this year and to help our plants out, but we've already had the high 80s, which is unusual. And this has stopped them from wilting down. So you can see how nice this garlic's doing. Beautiful plants. This is a northern white variety. And then we'll show you up here. This is our strawberry planter box. We've got a little rosemary plant. Now, we bought this one, but they say rosemary is like thyme. You can cut these little shoots off, especially when they're dark green and not heavy woody. Soak them in some water and they'll root, and then you can plant them. So we're going to try that this year. There's our thyme plant that we took the cuttings off of, and they rooted really nice. Here's our bare root strawberry plants that we bought and put them in cups. We didn't plant them right in the ground. We didn't do that because it was a little too cold, and we didn't want to kill all the plants. So we have they say online you get a better germination rate, or your plants living better, if you plant them in cups first and let them get established when you buy the bare root plants, and then put them outside once the cups are kind of root bound. And excuse me, here's our, that's about 50-foot row of blackberries. We've already got these guys trellised up and mulched in real heavy. You can see down through there, and they're coming out really nice. We had a lot of canes, but we cut the canes back to like 4 canes per plant, so they're not so just thick and hanging over in the church parking lot where they park their cars. So we try to help those guys out too, and we cut them back, and it does better for the berries when you cut your canes back. You get a lot more growth in a smaller patch of canes than just having those canes going everywhere. Here's the leftover mulch we had and our pile of garden soil. And here's our potatoes. We planted these. These are baby Dutches, and we just put them in some little pots, and they're already starting to come up. Here's our this is Spanish onions, yellow Spanish onions. And they're doing great. We've had a lot of rain. I couldn't cover these because I didn't have enough stuff to make a frame, but I did cover our Elsa Craigs with all the rain. We was getting 2 inches of rain in a day, and I just don't want anything rotting. Here's our barbecue grill. This was an old barbecue grill that was not usable anymore, so I took the bottom off because it was rusted out. And I took the top that was still good and made the top the bottom and just put a frame around it and use it as a stand-up planter box. You can see that. And I can walk right up. It's chest high to me. And there's usually a lot of weeds this time of year growing in here, but I've been out here picking the weeds to try to help with this spinach that we got going on. And I have to put this little wire cover on there to keep the squirrels out of it. The squirrels like to get in there and dig around and bury their nuts, but I'm getting ready to have to take that off because they're starting to get to the top of this thing. And then we'll walk around here. There's another mound of garden soil. We had to replace a couple of boxes this year, so there's a soil out of it, and we'll get that put back in the box once we get the box built. Here's our box for our green beans. It's still too early to get green beans planted, so we're going to hold off on those till after Mother's Day. Here's our little beet seedlings. We've had sweet potatoes planted here, and we trellised that up with a cattle panel. And we're doing beets here this year, early in the season. And there's our beet seedlings. They're coming up. I have to put the little screens over there to keep the rabbits out of them. And here's our 2 Yukon Gold planter boxes. We're going to get the stakes on these guys today because you can see these plants are starting to come up. I have a video in the playlist a few weeks back of us planting these Yukon Golds in these boxes. And you can see how nice these guys are looking. Let's see if we can get around here. You can see I've got 2 rows in each box. And then here's we've got Yukon Golds in this first row of buckets. And they're doing great. And then we've got some extra Sarpomiras right here. And they're doing great. And there's another Yukon Gold. And then we'll get over here to the onions. Here's our Elsa Craigs. These are the extras that couldn't fit in the box. And you can see the browning down along the bottom down there, where all that rain we had. So We're hoping that they come out of their thing. I went ahead and put the cover back on because we're going to get more rain this evening. They said some terrible storms this evening, so we put the cover back on. And I'll show you down in there. So they're doing great. I'll probably uncover this box today while the sun's out, and this evening cover it back up. Here's one we've got in a container. You can see how nice it's doing. And here's a couple more of those Elsa Craigs. And then right here we have our Spanish yellow onions in these containers. And they're doing good too. So all in all, so far, everything's looking great. Thank the Lord for that. If we can get this rainy month out of us and maybe get into some nice warm sunshiny days, which we did have a couple of 88 degrees this week, which is unusual for this time of year, but now we're getting back down to normal temperatures, and so things are to just take off for us. At any rate, there's the updated video on everything, and we appreciate all you guys watching our videos and giving us the thumbs up and subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching.